with John Impemba and James Grande.
What is going on, FANation? John Impemba here with James Grande. Welcome into the Fantasy Alarm NBA DFS Playbook live show. It is Monday. We are kicking off this with a 10-game main slate over on the DraftKings, 12 games over on the FanDuel. Big way to kick off after just a solo game on Sunday with the NFC and AFC championships. The NBA decided to basically take the day off and watch some football, and therefore they gave us a monster Monday to kick it off. I'm pretty excited about it. Grande coming off of a nice weekend. If you guys are just tuning in now, maybe didn't see the news in the Discord, had a near takedown over on Saturday, a second place finish in the $12 single, a high finish in the $5 single entry there as well, if not for an unfortunate run out for Jordan Poole and Kyle Kuzma. Maybe looking at another takedown overall, but we're here running back. He was on your playbook today, so we're feeling hot, and we got a pretty interesting slate to go over as well.
Yeah, I'm mad at the NBA for not trying to big brother the NFL. Not that they could, because obviously, you know, the NFL is what the NFL is, but I would have much preferred to not have to just sit through Portland and Oklahoma City and had a couple other options on NBA League Pass on Sunday. But I digress. New slate on Monday. Interesting slate we have here, 10 games. We have a game with almost 250 implied points. It should be a good one overall.
Yeah, I was going to say, we had a couple, obviously we did the preview show this morning, a couple of games up over 240, which, you know, to no surprise, the ownership for today is probably where we thought it would be, right? You know, and even then, you know, in single entries, it's going to be a little bit higher, and we'll have the updated ownership over at Fantasy Alarm after today's show. You know, but if you're looking at large field tournaments, you know, Nikola Jokic is playing the game with a 240, 5.5 or whatever it is game.
No, total. You're not even close.
Not even close. Higher now?
It's 248.
248.5 game total now.
That's been bet up every time I refresh. It's up
every time it goes up. Yeah. I'm looking at ESPN, so it's still delayed. 248.5 even total. Joker sitting here at 26%. I mean, if he's at 26% in a large field GPP tournament tonight, that's still plenty of leverage on the field. We went over this exact same scenario on Friday. He went for 99.5 points at like 21%. So that's something to talk about, and we'll see. You know, things will update. We'll get some more roster news. Maybe he comes more popular. Of course, you know, when you get into the single entries, he tends to be a little bit higher than that as well. But, you know, overall, it's going to be quite interesting to see where we go with our lineup builds. We appreciate and encourage you guys to all ask some questions in the chat. We love that you guys are here each and every day. If you're new, hit that like, that share, that subscribe button. Get notified whenever we go live. It's free to do. David pop in the slate saying, let's go and attack. Crowley always in here with the Dirk.
I got to ask, right? We've never addressed the Dirk comment. Is Rolly always standing on one leg doing the Dirk?
Maybe.
When commenting? Does he think one of us look like Dirk? Because I personally don't think that either one of us look like Dirk Nowitzki very, very much, if at all.
Yeah.
Neither our heights match Dirk Nowitzki either.
I almost hit a bit of a Dirk fadeaway on Saturday.
Thanks, Sean.
You're welcome.
Thanks. Damn it. I'm just
throwing you off here.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into it though. Your top priced plays overall on today's slate: Nikola Jokic, Cade Cunningham, Anthony Davis, LaMelo Ball, Domantas Sabonis up over $10,000. Brings us to the point guard position today, where you have two obviously expensive point guards in Cade Cunningham and LaMelo Ball up over $10,000. When it comes to ownership at the point guard position, it seems like we're getting a lot more mid-tier options, which we probably kind of expected given the game totals. Not many looking to spend up at the point guard position today. We talk leverage often. You're looking at Cade Cunningham at under 5%, LaMelo Ball under 2%. Is that the leverage on today's slate that you're looking to get in your lineups here, James? Like, what do you think?
I mean, I think it is leverage. I'm kind of surprised to see LaMelo's ownership where it is. I had noted this morning when I first started that I thought Cade's ownership would be lower, and it was for most of the day. not that it matters. One guy's 2% owned, one guy's 1% owned. So like there's no like take your pick on which leverage spot you want. But I do think that they're both viable. Cade gets a Cleveland defense that's scuffled lately. They're now down to 12th overall, but this is a big pace-up spot for Detroit. We still don't know about Tobias Harris. There was I actually tweeted at a beat reporter this morning, and he responded saying, we don't know what Tobias did at shoot-around, but when we got there, he was taking off his shoes. So he was seen, but we don't know, like, maybe he was duping the reporters, right? Just sitting there taking his shoes off. So Cade could possibly be without Ivy and Tobias Harris. That would, and in a game with 235 implied points in a really good pace-up spot. So I think Cade's, fine in large field stuff. And same thing with LaMelo. I think both these guys are super fine in large field tournaments. And as you mentioned, and something that we talked about, like the mid-tier is very appealing at point guard. And that, like, prior to ownership, I think you and I had that same thought. Like, yeah, it was 242 points or whatever it was when we started last night. It's been bet up obviously quite a bit, but so I'm also with the field, like, again, we're looking at large field data when we're coming to ownership. In single entry stuff, it's very hard to get to what's likely to be a 50% Jokic and Cade or LaMelo. So you would have to make that decision. Okay, I'd rather play Cade and LeBron, or Cade and AD, or Cade and not Jokic, or just be okay with complete stars and scrub build. Or just Cade solo, right? If you think Cade can score 75 fantasy points then tonight, then that's your condition where you're getting to them. But in large field stuff, it obviously is easier. In single entry stuff, it's hard to, like, for me, justify, like, I'm playing Cade or LaMelo. Haha, everybody who's playing Jokic at 50%, like, that's not fun. That's not fun coverage to have.
Yeah, I mean, I was a little bit interested to see kind of where the value is going to be at this point guard position today. We asked and we kind of talked about it. Like, Keaton Wallace did get called up from the G League. We weren't sure where Keaton Wallace would come in when it comes to ownership. As of now, none. But if that ends up being a starting lineup that comes out and he's in that starting lineup, maybe then you start seeing some of the ownership of these other 10K players start to rise, because now there's a under 4K plug that everybody's putting into their lineups.
Yeah, I'd have the more I thought about it, the harder I thought about him not starting.
Right.
So I haven't even thought of Keaton Wallace's name once today.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, we obviously looked at the last time they played, missing Johnson and Trey. He was in the lineup. They were also missing some other pieces at that time as well.
Ricochet and Nance, who both would presumably start, or one of them would at least start.
Right. So we'll see what happens again. Roddy did start in that lineup. That was kind of the thing we talked about. Roddy would get replaced by a Ricochet or Nance, and then we'd have to see what they did with their other guard spot. If they just played Dyson Daniels at point guard and moved Bogey in.
Krejci. And Krejci, because Krejci is also like a ball. You can have.
Yeah. Well, Krejci was already in that starting lineup iteration. That was.
But that was replaced Ricochet. Right. So if you are now starting Ricochet, I have a very hard time believing Ricochet kicks Nance out, because they're the size of Minnesota that they're playing. So I would assume it'd be double big plus Ricochet, Daniels, one open spot. And that open spot, I assume, would go to Krejci.
How many minutes did we give Keaton Wallace today?
I don't think I gave him any.
Okay. Obviously seen some projections on him. So I guess who would be their backup point guard then, I guess? Which, do you think they just go Daniels and Gvit as their 2 point guard rotation?
Yeah, I mean, I also did projections at the time of when he was still in the G League.
Okay.
So,
makes sense.
I do think, I'm not saying I don't think Keaton Wallace, I just don't think that he's really worth having a conversation unless we get him in the starting lineup.
Okay. That's fine too. There's obviously other value point guards that are popping on today's slate. Ty Jerome, Lonzo Ball will hit those as we work our way down. The mid tier, as you mentioned, though, does have some appealing options for us. Scotty Barnes, John Morant, Kyrie Irving, Jalen Brunson in this range. DeJounte Murray ruled in at $8,500. We have Tyler Hero, Jimmy Butler suspended indefinitely after walking out of practice this morning. Shocker of all shockers. He has zero interest of being in Miami Heat, so he is no longer going to be a Miami Heat there.
Honestly, I hope he, dude. This, I don't know. Pat the Petty Riley is.
Well,
could we see him?
He might keep him on the roster and just keep him off the bench.
Dude. I'm really thinking because the Heat kind of win either way. They walk and they don't have to give him that extension at the end of the year, and then they have all that money to spend in the offseason. Like they could be okay with that, right? Like keep him on the roster the rest of the year.
Mm-hmm. I agree. So again, I rattled off like 8 point guards here. I think they're all in pretty good situations. Not even where the ownership is going all that much either. What are your thoughts once we get below LaMelo Ball here?
Kyrie is getting a pretty good amount of ownership. That's probably where I would go. Dallas in general is popular, and it's not surprising, right? They have the best matchup on the board. Pace, great. Matchup, great. Washington dead last in defense. I find it interesting, and I don't know like why this correlation is what it is, but when all the guys are out, plus Maxi Kleba, who obviously got hurt last game and like broke something, Kyrie's production dropped off pretty significantly. And again, I don't know what the correlation between Maxi Kleba is there, but maybe it's just the fact that Maxi Kleba is never looking to do anything offensively.
Yeah.
Dallas is a tricky one tonight because they're so popular, and I get the want to get there, but there's no relief on really any of their pricing. But they play big minutes. If this game stays competitive, Dallas is going to have multiple like really appealing pieces. So yeah, Kyrie is obviously one of them. He leads them in usage. Not the leader in fantasy points per minute. We'll get to him much later, but that would be the guy that stands out the most. Brunson, if you're just like a fan of game environment, obviously this is another game that has skyrocketed in terms of over under. It's currently at 241.5, 3.5 point spread. Memphis winners of 6 straight. Obviously the Knicks are projected to be one of the top teams in the East. They are obviously, but like at the finish line, we know Jalen Brunson has a massive ceiling. And then the third guy for me was De'Aaron Fox. Just like kind of like sometimes I think people would be scared off by production, right? You said it last night perfectly. Like, why is De'Aaron Fox 8,100? And I get it. Like Malik Monk's having good games, and DeRozan's been having good games, and Sabonis has just been an absolute monster. But none of that matters if De'Aaron Fox comes out like he normally does and just makes shots.
That's it. He's missing shots.
He just needs to. This is a guy who is a max player, shooting 47% on the year, and is considered their best player. Like,
20+ shot attempts the last 2 games. He's just missing.
Just missing shots. Had a 28% usage rate last game. Just missed. This spot is a particularly good one if it can stay competitive. So I think from a price point standpoint, plus the matchup, for me in this 8K tier, Fox was the third guy that really stood out.
Yeah, I won't even really argue with you. We can talk Scotty Barnes at small forward if you want. That's obviously another sort of appealing game. 234 game total. Or something like that in that range here today, rather, expected to be rather competitive.
Yep.
If Toronto's without both their bigs, like that could see the New Orleans Pelicans play smaller. And then there's like Boku rebounding upside for Barnes and just like overall a fun matchup there at $9,300. DeJounte, obviously on the other side of that at 85, he's in. We talked about that last night. It was the finger and the elbow. It's going to be good to go here for this one against Toronto. You then go down a little bit further. They gave Amen Thompson point guard eligibility. You have Darius Garland, McCollum, Dyson Daniels, Van Vliet, and then your chalky plays Jamal Murray and Russell Westbrook are down here as well. Where are you looking to plant a flag?
And Giddy as well. He's popular. He's super popular. So that's just that game in general. I mean, this tier is very appealing. Amin Thompson in tournaments, obviously someone who has massive upside. Darius Garland's been playing more minutes. We've kind of talked about that, like Cleveland playing their guys more, especially with these injuries. Garland's gone for 40 plus fantasy points in 4 or 5, coming off 39 and 9. So like obviously good for large field stuff. I expect Austin Reeves to play about 40 minutes again. No Gabe Vincent tonight. I don't think they really want to play Shake Milton all that much. So I think Reeves just plays as literally many minutes as he possibly can. So like that's something. The numbers are the numbers for Dyson Daniels. Like they just are the numbers, right? Like we sometimes get caught up, and I'm a victim of it too, and I need to be better about it. Like, well, Dyson Daniels just isn't a guy who looks for his own offense, blah, 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 blah. Well, when Trae Young is out and Jalen Johnson are off the floor, Dyson Daniels does. He has a 9% usage bump. 9. That is massive. That is like players' whole entire seasonal usage rates. And Dyson Daniels has that in just minutes that Jalen Johnson and Trae Young are off the floor. Bump up to 27% and is a 1.3 fantasy point per minute player. I would say the only thing you need to worry about Dyson Daniels is just please don't foul Anthony Edwards, because that's your 48-minute assignment tonight. You're going to guard Anthony Edwards for 48 minutes. But Dyson Daniels has been awesome. Obviously, peripherally, he's been awesome. And I think the most important thing lately is we've gotten a lot more scoring out of Dyson Daniels. So, I think if we continue to get that, he's going to be a forgotten man on a team that is in a tough spot, but is down their definitive 2 best players, possibly their 3rd best scorer in DeAndre Hunter as well, who's listed questionable. So I like Daniels as a pivot, but the other 3 guys are obviously super elite. And honestly, I'll just throw Jordan Poole in that mix too.
Yeah, I was going to say, Jordan Poole's in that group as well. What I think is interesting in terms of like ownership is there's only a few percentage points that's basically separating like Murray, Poole, Giddey, and that crew. You pick the right one, they're the one that has the bigger day, and now you give yourself a leverage play over the rest of the field that's on the other guys.
Can I give you a hot take?
Sure.
I think the guy who has the most ownership is the worst of the 4.
Which is Westbrook.
And I don't say that as if he is a bad play, but I'm starting to believe that Denver is really hard to figure out outside of Jamal Murray minutes and Jokic minutes. And everything else is like up for grabs.
Sure.
Aaron Gordon played 25 minutes last game in a 30-point blowout. That's not a coincidence, right? That's him. That's them being like, hey, dude, you're in our 5. Like, we're ramping. We need you to ramp up. That's not a coincidence. We've talked about the Christian Brown stuff. He's playing extremely well, and in some of these games can't get more than 25 minutes. Michael Porter, if he's not making shots, come over and sit next to me, Mike. Peyton Watson's going to steal your minutes, or Julian Strawther. Westbrook is very similar to Jokic as a player, and obviously their connection has been talked about on like a crazy level this year. But do you need, when Jokic is doing what he does, like Westbrook's minutes have been squeezed in some of these games. And I know that most of them have been blowouts, but when guys were out, those minutes were up to 34, 35. We're not getting those games out of Russell Westbrook since health has come back into Denver's favor. So where I think Westbrook's obviously a good play, and I believe that they're going to stick with the starting lineup moving forward and Westbrook's involvement in it, I think there's just greater opportunity for everyone else. Josh Giddey, right? Since Kobe White has gone out, 40, 34, 38 minutes. I don't believe that's something that Russell Westbrook attains with the health of Denver. Jamal Murray's minutes, even in these blowouts, 35, 40, 33, 38, 37 minutes for Jamal Murray the last 5 games. Jordan Poole, minutes that we had been concerned about earlier in the year, right? Only once in the last 5 games, Jordan Poole has not played 34 plus minutes. Like, all of those guys' opportunities are significantly greater than Westbrook. And again, I think Westbrook's fine. Do I think he is the best point guard play on the board according to the ownership? I don't. But you know,
I think obviously it
price,
a little bit has to do with price. 6,200, the game, obviously. But I want to ask your thoughts. I mean, we highlighted sort of the minutes there. Blowout 28 minutes, blowout 25, blowout 25, blowout 26, blowout 25, blowout 26. The one competitive game where they had to check everybody back in, he got 32. Do you think that in a competitive game tonight, he gets the 30-plus minutes? Because that's the only sample size we have of any sort of competitive game. He did get over 30 minutes in that 10-game span where they're either getting blown out or they're running everybody off the floor.
I know, but like you also, I think, have to factor in like there are nuggets getting extended. Jamal Murray's minutes hadn't suffered one bit. And I understand like Jokic and Westbrook have different sub patterns and stuff, but we also hadn't seen Aaron Gordon ramp to 25 minutes in any of these games as well. I'm not saying he directly, but he is currently lost his starting job to Russell Westbrook. That is the 1-for-1 swap. And I'm not saying it won't be Christian Brown that loses out more often than not.
Yeah.
But I think it's definitely like Christian Brown is the better defender between him and Russell Westbrook. I think Christian Brown can defend more positions than Russell Westbrook at this time. So
it could be an offense versus defense thing then maybe.
Yeah. Look, I'm not suggesting Russell Westbrook's not going to play 30 minutes tonight. I just think those other names have significantly more minute upside just based on where they are and have been in terms of like who's in for the Bulls, clearly Washington just ramping Jordan Poole all the way up. I don't know if that's trade value, whatnot. And then Denver, electing to extend Murray instead of Westbrook overall.
And I'm fine. And honestly, I'm fine fading Westbrook as the chalk play there. You just obviously know, we don't necessarily know, right?
I'm not by the way, I'm not saying I'm fading him. I'm just giving you my opinion on like those four guys that are all highly rostered. I would rather play the other three. I think Westbrook's fine.
I would listen for me. I too would much rather play a Jamal Murray. We've seen him go for 50 actual not too long ago. And then obviously Giddey with the same, we're playing Westbrook for triple-double upside, and Giddey is giving us triple-double upside with the guaranteed minutes on the other side of that matchup. So no arguments either way for me on those plays. And then Poole, like you said, showing the scoring, the 3-point attempts are ridiculous. And if he gets hot from three, you've seen 45, 56 fantasy points. Dallas, not necessarily the greatest defensive team right now. Going down into the value, are you surprised to see Ty Jerome and Lonzo Ball and Carlton Carrington as guys that are getting ownership at point guard today?
The Carrington one a little bit because they didn't start him last game. They started Keyshawn George over him. So unless they, not to say Bub isn't going to play minutes, he still played 25, 26 minutes in that game. But that's a price point thing for sure. $3,900. The Jerome one, people are just banking on him getting hot again and playing, right? Like he didn't make any shots. They extended Strus 34 minutes.
Yeah.
He made shots the game before. Well, Ty Jerome, come on down. You're playing 33 minutes, right? So we know it's in his bag. He's an over 20% usage guy, well over a fantasy point per minute guy with Dean Wade, Karis LeVert, and
I took the over. I took the over 3.5 3-point attempts on Prize Picks tonight.
Yeah, he shoots.
Doesn't even need to make the threes. He just needs to take 4. And basically, he has 4 sub patterns. He just needs to take a 3 every time he checks into the game.
You might do that in one sub pattern.
Could take it in one sub pattern, but he plays in all 4 quarters, and he didn't take a 3 a quarter basically when he's on the floor. We got it. So
he likes to shoot the basketball.
Does not even have to make him, which is my favorite part about it.
He likes
just has to shoot him. So
yeah, I think he's fine value. Honestly, maybe another little hot take. I'd probably rather play him than Lonzo. I know Lonzo, obviously, the game environment doesn't really compare.
Yeah.
But I think what we've seen is at least Jerome has, if he is making shots, the ability to get stretched out in terms of minutes, right? 2 games ago, Ty Jerome played 33 minutes. That wasn't that's not really Lonzo's. Like, I don't think.
You think that they? I mean, I guess they could, right? They would just play him over Strus essentially
Yeah,
because they're
yeah,
without Okoro, they're without LeVert, they're without Dean Wade. They got Mobley back. Obviously, they didn't have Mobley in that game
yep,
or LeVert in that game that he went off. In having Mobley back just kills a possible rotation
yes,
because they're going to give Georges Niang small forward run, right?
correct.
Like they did.
Yep,
So there is a little bit to that. But to your point, if he's hitting threes and Max Strus isn't, they'll just go play Jerome and Strus won't play the minutes. You at least can lock in Lonzo for 24 minutes.
24, right? No, for sure. Lonzo's safe. I think Lonzo's safer. But if you're playing a tournament, I think Ty Jerome just has given you like no reason to think that Lonzo has a higher ceiling.
Yeah, you haven't seen. I mean, you got the one pop game from Lonzo.
Yep.
Filled up the stat sheet. He is filling up the stat sheet nicely. The 3 steals per minute are pretty good in those recent games. He's only taking threes pretty much. So if he ever gets if he has like a 5 for 10 or 6 for 11 3-point game or something like that, he's going to explode. Maybe tonight's the night, but you got to take some risks involved there. Would you play anybody else at point guard tonight?
No.
Okay. Shooting guard. And I see some of the FanDuel questions. We'll touch on those. Penny asking about Jordan Clarkson. We had the Max Christie, Dalton Connect, red shooting guard. We'll hit on that right now. And then Josh asking more about the Utah situation. So we will touch on Utah in a little bit, but we're going to get through shooting guard here. Anthony Edwards, Kyrie Irving, Donovan Mitchell, your top 3. Murphy's up here. Levine and Bain are 8K and above. Last night we kind of keyed in. We like Donovan Mitchell a lot. Anything changed for you since you did the research today?
I mean, I like Donovan Mitchell. I don't even think I wrote him up in the playbook today. Not to say I don't. He has a massive ceiling. Playing monster minutes. Yeah, playing monster minutes. I have nothing bad to say about Donovan Mitchell. I just think I found other players at his price point in not at this particular position, but when I'm like building out lineups, I've got to other players. But I have nothing bad to say about that.
He's potentially a good pivot play. We talked, finding low ownership pivots. A guy that's under 10% today, coming up with 4, 5, 50 plus games in his last 5.
He's very good at basketball. He's starting. I mean, I know it's like there's fan vote and stuff, but like he's starting the All-Star game. For like he's very good. He
may have to go up against 5 Oscar Thompsons today, though, right?
That is obviously the kicker.
One of the best highlights. If you guys haven't seen it, go find it on Twitter. Oscar Thompson covered the entire Hawks starting 5 in one possession.
It's just absurd, yeah.
So where are you looking to go then at shooting guard today?
I mean, you could play Kyrie here,
sure.
Mitchell. I wrote Levine up today. I think that there's again, like this game isn't surprising anybody, Denver, Chicago.
Kind of big news there. No Jaquez now tonight. No Jimmy Butler tonight. Does that change?
He was officially ruled out. Officially ruled out. Jaquez.
Officially ruled out. Jaquez.
Does it? I mean, he was extended quite a bit last game. They had already announced, and this is why Jimmy walked out, that Highsmith was starting. So that doesn't change. Like the Jaquez news doesn't change their starting lineup. Hero, Bam, Ware, Duncan, and Highsmith.
Mm-hmm.
But like,
does it breathe life into Jovic for us?
Pick your secondary Miami, whether it's Jovic, Rozier, Pelle Larson. One of those guys probably gets extended. Sure. Maybe Alec Burks and his DMPs last 2 games get like dusted off. So like, yeah, I mean, Jaquez was really good the other day. He played, like, got extended the last few games. So 26 minutes there to be had. I mean, obviously someone's going to be extended. I'd assume Highsmith, Jovic, Larson would be the 3 guys that get bumps.
Sure.
But also Khalil Ware had since entering the starting lineup, that was his season low in minutes too. So it could in theory help Khalil Ware as well. Nothing particular that stands out for Miami in general. Goga Batadze back tonight.
Yeah.
Don't think it's particularly fun to face Orlando when like they're
Not this Orlando, right?
when they're
back,
this version is not like particularly fun. So
this is the version that was allowing 104 points per game and playing at the slowest pace in the NBA.
yes, this is not a fun team to target. So I don't have like anything groundbreaking there. Obviously, there's some minutes to be had for Miami, but I think sometimes reacting to news like that in our lineups could be a detriment.
Sure.
So back to LaVine, I do think it's something. This whole game is getting ownership. Zach LaVine isn't, and he's obviously like the best chance the Bulls have at staying competitive in this game. If Zach LaVine scores 35 actual tonight, would you be surprised?
No.
And no one's playing. So like he's coming off a game 38 minutes. That's been mostly in all scenarios that have been competitive lately. There's no Kobe White. Has a big usage rate. No Kobe White, 29%. Has good fantasy per minute output with no Kobe White, 1.1. And again, 248 implied points. Not often do you get a game with 248 implied points that doesn't get somewhere close. And if this game is somewhere close, the ownership's going to live up to the hype on most of these players. And again, Zach LaVine's not getting any ownership. So I do think in tournaments, if you want to just run a Jokic LaVine 2-man action, or just obviously get some other Denver in there, mixed it, like whatever you want to do. I think if LaVine's your Bulls representation, I think you'd be pretty happy with it.
Sure. Again, nothing against Murphy or Bain in that same range, right?
No,
Bain's in a game that is also way up there in overall production. McCollum's in this spot. We've talked a lot of Jaylen Brown under $8,000. Got him at $7,500 here. Jalen Green, you can play the Denver plays. Malik Monk has been amazing. Anything here after LaVine kind of stand out to you that you want in on?
Yeah, I wrote up Monk in today's playbook that you can go find at fantasyalarm.com. If you are a Fantasy Alarm subscriber, you can read it. But Monk's been good, dude. The price is not matching up with the production. Guys does a little bit of everything. 24% usage on the year, 1.1 fantasy points per minute. And all you can ask for is the minutes, right? The guy was coming off the bench earlier in the year. Now he's not. Now he's playing big minutes. And he's just super good. A super good fantasy player. So you just need the game to stay close. That's all. We just need Brooklyn to be scrappy, right?
Yep.
Can they? I don't know. We need them to be. If you want to play Sacramento, we need Brooklyn to be scrappy. And I guess in that light, for a couple $100 cheaper, you would probably be interested in D'Angelo Russell if you are thinking that this game can stay competitive, because he has been the primary reason to why their offense has scored any points at all. I mean, him and Keon Johnson the last few games, the only people that have scored. So if you were to think Malik Monk and De'Aaron Fox and Sabonis could get going and the game can stay close, well, you obviously have to think D'Angelo Russell is reasons 1, 2, 3, 4, and 7.
Yeah. The assist numbers for him are also kind of encouraging here.
Yes, for sure.
It feels like it's been a while, or maybe ever, that we've seen him be a facilitator like this. 8, 12, 4 against Philly, but he played 14 minutes in that game. 9, 8, 7, 10, and then 6.
Right.
Like in only playing over 30 minutes in one of those games. So some pretty elite assist numbers out of D'Angelo Russell here today. Any working our way down under the 6K range? Any notables for you at shooting guard? Again, does Duncan Robinson now become any more appealing? Christian Brown's $4,500. Nick Smith's down here. Strus, Bogdan. Anybody for you?
We had a comment today on the show from Anthony, not Anthony Hunt. Anthony, who comes into our chat every once in a while.
Sure.
And he talked about Spencer Dinwiddie. He was in big foul trouble in this Boston game. I don't hate, not because revenge either. He does obviously hate Washington, and he was very public about his hate for Washington. But obviously he's going to play big minutes if he can stay out of foul trouble. He's been playing big minutes every night. 5,700 is a good price. Position eligibility is good. Duncan, again, I don't think the Heat move the needle for me in this spot. Yeah. I'm just okay with this, just kind of ignoring this game if it's not a star player who can get off in no matter what spot they're in. I think like the value is where I'm going. Max Strus 4,400 I think is really good. TBD on the Toronto stuff. I was looking at and I didn't really realize this. We're like, oh man, Grady Dick 14 minutes that game. Like, what happened? He literally just was in foul trouble every time he checked in the game. Grady Dick had 5 fouls in 14 minutes, couldn't stay on the floor. I'd go back to Toronto if guys are out.
Okay.
But like, so I'm not shying away from Grady Dick here. Would play Bruce Brown if all those same guys are out, plus Pirtle. But I do think the Bruce Brown minutes won't get up there if we get the Grady Dick to stay on the floor. And then it is like some Lakers stuff. I wrote up in the playbook in, the before lock stuff. I thought, and I had mentioned it to you in passing on the show this morning, I thought Dalton Connect would be extended if we got Rui out. We did. We also got Gabe Vincent out. And Gabe Vincent, for what it's worth, Gabe Vincent's been playing 20 plus minutes a night, every night for the Lakers. They are extending Gabe Vincent. He closed over Max Christie last game. They played Gabe Vincent. And I'm not suggesting Dalton Connect is just going to instantly absorb all those minutes to be had. I do think it's interesting. If they're not in need of Max Christie's defense, that they just go away from it and they go another route. Ultimately, I think Jared Vanderbilt's probably a guy that they would look to get into more closing lineups.
Sure.
Dorian Finney-Smith obviously is going to start. But I think like the question we had, the Christie and the Dalton Connect thing, I think Connect is the more interesting play just simply from a usage standpoint. Like Max Christie can be fine offensively. Yeah. Like we've seen him obviously expanding his game, especially from the 3-point line. He's been pretty solid there. But for significantly cheaper, $800, almost min salary, you got 24 minutes out of Dalton Connect, and that had nothing to do with like outcome of game. He was just in their rotation. He had a 19% usage rate in that game, which is fine, especially for a guy who's $3,200. I am pretty comfortable thinking that Dalton Connect's going to play anywhere from 24, 25, 26, 27 minutes tonight. I am in that line of thinking.
Well, if you think that's true, you can go get his 1.5 3-pointers for minus 105 over on the sports books, and he's 105. He's minus, or he's 1.5 3-pointers on Underdog and DraftKings. If he's going to play that many minutes, and he's facing Charlotte, he's going to be taking, multiple 3-pointers. Obviously, that's basically what he's on the floor to do. There's probably a pretty good chance at him knocking down 2. He's hit 3 3-pointers in back-to-back games for the Lakers here. So, some decent potential upside there for our guy in this one.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think the Lakers have been trying that double big stuff lately. I don't think they do much of that here with the way that Charlotte runs their lineups. Maybe they just do just to feed Anthony Davis' ego and like, here, buddy, here, play the 4 a little bit. But I do think Dalton Connect is live for far more minutes. Again, Vincent's leaving 20 plus minutes on the table after we just saw Connect be the direct beneficiary of Rui Hachimura being out of the lineup. So,
agreed.
All
right. Anybody else here?
Not as of now.
Right. Anthony wants to play Boston tonight. What do we think Boston versus Houston?
It's a game between fun teams. Houston is one of the best defensive units in the NBA, and it's not like
are getting some discounted pricing in Boston outside of basically Derek White, though. So there is at least that.
They're cheap.
Cheaper than they've been in a little bit as we hit the small forward. Tatum, it's $9,700. It's he hasn't been elite in a few slates, but they're back home after a long road trip, which optics, everybody assumes the Celtics are struggling. They won 3 or 4 on the West Coast, right? Like, that's what happens when you're a great team, that people still think you're struggling when you win 3 or 4 on a West Coast swing. So you have Tatum, you have Barnes, who I mentioned I really like already. A lot of these guys we've touched on. What do you think Franz Wagner does tonight at $8,000? Does he have any interest in our guy here?
Probably staying away. Let's just ban MD from the chat. I'm good with that. I'm good with just getting rid of MD and moving on.
I'll say this: he was right on SGA the other day.
Okay, but we're just I don't need this. I don't need this troll in my life. Well, let me ask you this: and this is kind of to answer Anthony's question, John. Would you rather play $9,700 Jason Tatum against Houston, or would you rather play a low-owned Scotty Barnes, point guard, small forward, $400 cheaper in a dream spot?
I'd rather play Scotty Barnes.
Coming off Eastern Conference Player of the Week award, after leading his team to 3-0, face of the league, you'd rather play Scotty Barnes, right?
Yeah, no one's playing Tatum either, but slightly more people are on Tatum than Barnes. So
I think that's crazy.
Duncan Robinson now questionable.
I really don't want to play Miami.
So Miami already down Jaquez, down Jimmy Butler, maybe now down Duncan Robinson.
Yeah, but do you know what this does? You know what this is going to do? This is going to put Pelle Larsson into the starting lineup.
Yeah.
Right? This is going to put Pelle Larsson in the starting lineup, and it's going to dust off like Alec Burks. And it's not going to solve anything we want. It's not going to do any good for us, because we want it to go another direction, right? And it's going to go the opposite direction, because that's Eric Spoelstra.
I mean, the problem is last time Pelle Larsson started, people actually went to Pelle Larsson and played him.
And he
not good.
And he fouled like 8 times in 4 minutes.
Yeah. No, like, I like Scotty Barnes a lot, obviously,
Same.
and Anthony's in agreement with there. Again, super strong tier. Ahmed Thompson all the way down. Josh Hart, no shocker, ownership play. 240 plus game total, coming off triple doubles. We always say like no one ever plays Josh Hart. Well, tonight they're playing Josh Hart.
I'm happy for the field. They finally catching on to what we've been putting down, right? I mean, there is no lie 45-minute upside at Josh Hart tonight. In a 240 in a game of like, are you the real deal? Because that's what this game.
He's already playing 40 minutes a night.
I know, but he might play 45 in this game.
Pirtle in, Olynyk out. Agbaji in.
Oh, no. That's terrible news for all of our Chris Boucher wants and desires.
Yeah.
Today is Orlando Robinson's final day of his 10-day contract.
He won't see the floor. Jacob says he plays Josh Hart.
I think he bought a jersey or a bobblehead.
Well, that's also because Jacob has been a FANation Alarm lifetime member for
that's true.
Forever. So he knows all those times we've been touting Josh Hart, going back to like the Pelicans days. So
lifetime does imply forever, by the way.
It's true. You never know when he became like a lifetime member.
I just
lifetime from this point forward, you know.
Sure.
All right. Obviously, Josh Hart again, elite spot, all the goods and fixings for what he's capable of doing in a lineup. Then like it's kind of just like value. When it comes to ownership, I don't. Why NAW?
Played a bunch of minutes the other day. They're only going to play guys. Same stuff as always.
Right. Like NAW is getting ownership today. Obviously, we talked to Lakers plays. They're getting ownership as well. DeRozan's getting a little bit, but like really, it's everybody's playing again. Keyshawn George, at small forward.
Yep.
Connect. Alexander Walker. All the under 4K plays are all your high rostered small forwards today.
Yeah, I think it's definitely an interesting approach going away from that. Like if you wanted to live in like the Jaden McDaniels, who no one's playing, Klay Thompson range, who no one's playing.
You
Jalen
like Klay
Wilson.
Thompson today? I took the under points plus assists on him, which feels good. It was a 14.5.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't.
He's not shooting.
It's a weird. We're in a weird place with Klay, but obviously this is a. If you ever heard of a get right game, this would be that for Dallas. So like, such a good spot. That would be obviously a way to be different. If you wanted to play Vit Krejci, no one's playing Vit Krejci. I think people are scared away by the price. I am a little bit as well. Obviously, like career high points, career high in like most of his season high in assists, like a lot of career highs. Tobias, we just got the news, is game time.
Yeah.
Asar,
I would put Thompson obviously in the.
Yeah, and like, what version of Asar do you get, or do you just get the full complete package? Fouls, steals, points, and rebounds all mixed into one bag. That's also on the table. Like, he could also just foul out in 14 minutes if he's guarding Donnie Mitch. And so, yeah, I mean, that range I think is interesting to go away from the value. But I personally think the value is pretty solid today. Like, we already talked Connect. I think Connect is great. Keyshawn George starting last game, definitely an eyebrow raiser. I think the minutes were really solid. Obviously, the production has dropped off from like, and we have seen it. He has random games where he just chucks.
That's all it is, right? He is a super boom bust, 1 of 20 lineup guy, and hope that he has the day.
That's just not what the field is saying. The field is not saying 1 of 20. The field is saying, I am jamming more, please. Like, please jam in. And in single entry, he's going to be 50% roster. I mean, he's going to be 50%.
I will. Listen, I'll say this now so you guys can put him in your lineups. But if 50% Keyshawn George is what beats you tonight, then so be it.
Oh, no. Oh, no. We need an effect, like a stamp of approval effect, like that for both of us that just goes. But
when
it's like
John Hard fades somebody, jam him into your lineup.
Yeah, it's like a crash and burn effect, right? Where it's just like we solidify, like Westbrook's going for 100 tonight, and Keyshawn George best value of the slate.
Yeah. I mean, you mentioned Keyshawn George. For like a couple more dollars, you can play George Niang, who got 29 minutes. Like 32 fantasy points.
Are you more? Let me ask you it like this: whose minutes are more solidified? Do you think?
Probably George, but I think Niang can do more with his minutes than we've seen George consistently do with his.
Yes. I would say Keyshawn has given us a little higher of a ceiling because.
Oh yeah, I mean, obviously he knocked down 7 threes and
he has those random.
He's done that twice. Right?
He has done that twice. Let me ask you this.
Sure.
Those two, or if we get Memphis news breaking correctly for us, GG Jackson. If LaRavia and Aldama both get ruled out.
Yeah. Well, we like what GG Jackson can bring to the table. We love the shot attempts these last 2 games, 12 in each.
Yes.
You'd like to see him hit more threes, but 6 and 7 rebounds is obviously really strong. I would certainly have no problems playing GG Jackson. It's just whether or not we get that news in time to build your lineups with him involved.
Well,
Connects the 7 o'clock game.
You won't know. Keyshawn's 8:30.
Yeah.
So you'll know. I'm going to answer.
You don't think Connect's not going to start though, right? Like
no, I don't think. No, they're going to start Finney Smith.
Right. So you'll have to you're entering Connect assuming he comes off the bench and plays 25 minutes tonight.
Yes, and I think there's a lot of scenarios where he plays a lot of minutes because he's going to play in a blowout. If that were to happen, he's going to play regardless. We saw it last game, 24 minutes in a competitive game, and that was with Gabe Vincent, as I mentioned. So like, he's getting extended. I guess the question is, how many minutes are they willing to shell out to like Vanderbilt? Will Shake Milton into the rotation? Will they just say, screw it, Max Christie, here's 40 minutes, right? Because we've also seen that potentially. Either way, Connect's probably mid-20s where he was last game.
Right.
I think my decision, because I'm basically decide. Like I'm solidifying Dalton Connect. Like I'm playing Dalton Connect. That has been a decision that I've made today. I would play Gigi over Keyshawn George if both those other players were ruled out.
Yeah, and like you said, that Memphis game is at
8. We'll
7:30.
know. Or said that it's 7:30. Like we'll know.
Yeah, you'll know beforehand. Yeah, that's fine. And like you said, well, the thing is, like, you're going to be locking in Jerome, Connect, something like that for value at 7 o'clock, right? So you got to kind of build your lineups to include some of those things.
Yes.
Casey, Pirtle's in, but Olynyk is out. So there's still like a slight path to Boucher getting his minutes off the bench.
Yep.
You would have definitely preferred no Pirtle.
Yes,
in that
for
spot.
sure.
Because they could just go Orlando Robinson as the backup 5 and like Boucher gets 16 minutes or something like that.
So last game we had the Pirtle in, no Olynyk, but we also had no Agbaji. And I'm wondering what they do with Agbaji, because if he had like a random DMP last week and then he played like a bunch of minutes the next game, I'm still good with Boucher. Do you think they would? Because they didn't use Boucher as like the center. They used Orlando Robinson as like their center, right?
To me, it's just, what do you think the minutes cap is going to be now that there is at least Pirtle there, right? Like
Boucher will probably he played 21 last game with Pirtle.
Yeah, sure.
Because they're giving him power forward minutes.
Yeah,
like they're giving him that. Like Grady Dick was in foul trouble. He lost time. It's a tough one. I think Chris Boucher is still fine for like somewhere between 18 to 20 minutes, and I still think he's fine. But if Aldama and LaRavia don't play, I think there's slightly higher minute upside for Gigi Jackson.
Okay. Anybody else here at small forward for you?
No, we have the comment on Okogie. If you want to play Josh Okogie, you could play Josh Okogie.
If he starts, I'd have more interest.
Yeah, I just don't. I guess it would be over Nick Smith. I guess would be
right, because we have MD asking, why did Nick Smith only get 23 minutes there? Moran's out again. Josh is asking, obviously, a little bit of FanDuel with Gary Matthews or Trent Jr. with Milwaukee, then Gigi. So we got some guys here kind of breaking it down on this small forwards side of things.
Yeah, I mean, Nick Smith was pretty bad in that game. They also absolutely routed the Pelicans and extended other people. So, I mean, LaMelo only played 30. Josh Green started, only played 23. I don't have like the particular answer, but they played 12 guys. If they're going to play 12 guys and Josh Okogie's playing 20 minutes, I'm gonna pass.
Sure. All right. What about the FanDuel? Just quickly, thoughts on Utah situation and what Milwaukee's doing?
Utah, I saw we had I think it was the Filipowski question.
Yeah.
My expectation would be Eubanks starting. No Kessler, no Collins. I would assume it's Eubanks. We'll see. I have no idea. They freaking started Isaiah Collier over Keontae the other day. So like nobody knows what Utah is going to do. But I think Eubanks is really solid. He's been at a fantasy point per minute this year. So I would lean the Eubanks direction over Filipowski, especially if he's starting.
Yeah.
Milwaukee, I think, is incredibly appealing because one, they're shorthanded. No Bobby Portis, possibly no AJ Green again. They gave all their starters big minutes. Brook Lopez played 40 the other day. Middleton's questionable as well. So the Trent stuff, I would have more interest if Middleton doesn't play and Green get ruled out. Could definitely play Giannis. Dame has back-to-back triple doubles, which I find crazy. It's obviously a great spot. I think Brolo is probably the one sneaky guy in the Milwaukee game. the minutes have just been so elite for Brook Lopez. 41, 34, 35, 34, and no Bobby Portis, so the minutes will be there again. Utah, obviously, you can play, the starters. Can't trust anyone coming off the bench. And then Phoenix Clippers, Harden's the guy for me in that game. Norm Powell, 73, makes a lot of sense. Tyus Jones, 55, I think would be a solid play with Ryan Dunn out as well.
Sure. All right. Power forward. LeBron James, 99. Tatum's there against Zion, cover of today's live show. Paolo Banchero, 86. Jaren Jackson Jr., 81. Those, I think, are the three to focus on here.
Yeah, so I originally wrote Anthony Davis up in the playbook. And then the Lakers ruled out who they ruled out. And I did some research. No Hachimura, no Vincent, no D'Angelo Russell. Obviously, Russell traded. LeBron James leads the Lakers in both usage rate and fantasy points per minute with those players off the floor. He's obviously cheaper than Anthony Davis. He's obviously playing extremely well in the midst of a great stretch for LeBron. If you get a competitive game here, I think LeBron could go nuclear, especially on like kind of a short-handed team where they don't really play a lot of guys and two of their rotation pieces are out. So I like LeBron. Tatum, we talked about, you can play him in tournaments. Listen, this could go terribly wrong for me. I am absolutely flag planting Zion Williamson tonight. Undoubtedly one of my favorite plays on the board. I understand the minutes stink. The minutes are trending, at least in the right direction. Now we've seen that go the wrong way before. John.
Derek White just ruled out.
And Hauser's questionable, by the way. So
Hauser out.
Okay, so they're going double big then tonight. They'll go Horford into the start.
Horford's in, yeah. Horford's in.
Horford in, and they'll start. They'll just be their lineup, right? Horford starts. Peyton Pritchard, clearly 6-man.
Yep.
No competition for minutes. Cornette back a big. Jordan Walsh, if he's with the team, probably your 8th guy, and that's probably it, right? That's probably your Celtics.
We'll circle back to Peyton Pritchard after this, but going on Zion.
Okay. No Brandon Ingram, no Herb Jones, and I took Elf off the floor. Not that it matters, but I always take Elf off because he's a high usage player. He was there for that stretch. Do you know what Zion's usage rate is in that scenario?
42%.
Slightly high, 38. Okay. Do you know what his fantasy points per minute are?
1.4.
1.75.
Wow.
It's a big number.
1.7 is a huge number.
It's a huge number. I don't need 35 minutes out of Zion if we're getting 1.75. But if we get 28 minutes out of Zion Williamson here in a game that is an elite game environment, bottom 5 defense he's going up against, elite total, 234 implied points, 2.5 point spread. Give me Zion and all the Zion in tournaments. So, he's not a highly rostered play tonight. I understand why. There is a clear distinction between minutes for Zion and like other players at his tier. I mean, shoot, Paolo Banchero just played 40 minutes. He's $100 cheaper than Zion tonight, right? Why not just play Paolo?
I goblined his rebounds again at 5.5.
Ah, you soft. You're so soft. But like, man, it is really hard. One, to ignore how it doesn't matter how many minutes he shoots. He just takes a bajillion shots. Yeah. And it is impossible to ignore when I am a sucker for like numbers, right? Like just looking at numbers. Tell me what the numbers say. Well, 38% usage, 1.75 fantasy points are not numbers I'm going to ignore many times. So
I agree. I would say like if you were looking for any reason to detract, it would just sort of be he's faced Utah, Chicago, and Charlotte.
Yeah, but Toronto is terrible. Like they're a bad team.
They're a bad team. He is going to be on Scotty Barnes one way or the other on this.
27th in defensive rating. Right. Only one of those teams on that list are worse than the Toronto Raptors.
So are you at all worried about just the individual matchup with Scotty Barnes?
No.
Okay.
No. I salute to the face of the league, Scotty Barnes. But, no.
Well, we got a Scotty Barnes Zion question down here from Warren. D'Lo and Zion, Barnes and Naz Reid.
It's a good question. I'll go if that's. I think the Scotty side is definitely safer. Single entry cash game, I think, but for tournaments, D'Lo Zion.
Yeah, D'Lo's probably got a higher ceiling than Reid. Zion and Barnes are probably similar.
Yes.
Cam Whitmore officially ruled out tonight for. So maybe that keeps the Tari Eason minutes a bit more stabilized.
Yep.
Do you want to talk Paolo or do you want to circle back to Peyton Pritchard right now?
I mean, Paolo, 40 minutes. That's all we need, right? Got 40 minutes. We're good. Yeah, if you want to play Paolo, he's back. 40 minutes.
Minutes are all the way back for Paolo Banchero. All right, let's go back to Boston quickly. Again, it is Houston, so it's a tough team. But now you're taking Derek White out. You have a $5K Drew Holiday. You have a $4,800 Peyton Pritchard. We've talked already. Jaylen Brown is $75. Porzingis, we haven't gotten to yet at $7K. We always say you take one piece out, and it makes everybody a bit more interesting here. Do any of these players become more in your lineup tonight?
Yeah, I mean, Boston doesn't play a deep rotation. Right? They just are going to play their guys. Like maybe we see a little more Jaden Springer. I know he got like a lot of praise from Boston the other day, but like not someone I'm like necessarily
Dyson
looking.
Daniels now questionable for tonight's slate.
Oh boy, they are so cooked.
Keith Wallace
they are so
to
dead.
The moon.
They are so dead. They are so dead. I cannot see a scenario where like DeAndre Hunter plays if Dyson Daniels is ruled out. Like there's just no way they're rushing them back for this.
I mean, we're going to obviously get that. You got to be getting some Atlanta news here shortly.
No, I mean, they're what? They're at 8. They play at 8.
Yeah. What do you do? What do you do with, what do you do there?
I mean, that is the key.
You got to build around. What do you put like Keyshawn George in your lineup or something like that and wait for the pivot to Keaton Wallace? Or
well, you do have the Washington and Dallas game last. They're getting a ton of ownership, so you'll have.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Play Carrington or something like that, and then pivot down to if that's even an appealing spot for you. Like,
I mean, it's not appealing, but like the availability is the availability. If Dyson Daniels, what if they just rule out everybody that's questionable? Because Nance is still questionable, Richeche is still questionable, Hunter's still questionable. Now Dyson Daniels. 4 of those guys are questionable. We already have Trey. We already have Jalen Johnson out. That would be what, 6 of their top 11, 10? Who would they field?
The last time everybody was out with Keaton Wallace, 20x.
He beat the Bulls.
20x.
On his back. Him and Daquan Plowden, if you remember that.
Plowden. Yeah. And Bogey couldn't hit a shot.
And Bogey, I put up the banner. Bogey, the worst player in the NBA.
All right, so you have Peyton Pritchard here. $4,800. Are you now playing Peyton Pritchard tonight? Is he a must play for you?
I wouldn't say must play, but he's more in play. Looking at some things, no Derek White, no Sam Hauser, 0.97 fantasy points per minute. So if you want to round up to 1, just under a 21% usage. Like, he's still obviously like in most scenarios, like 4th fiddle, but he's obviously going to have a lot of the second unit stuff to himself.
Would you play Vic Krejci, Peyton Pritchard, Lonzo Ball?
Throw Drew Holiday probably Drew Holiday in that mix too, right?
Would you play Drew Holiday in that range too?
Krejci obviously becomes way more appealing if there's no Dyson.
Sure, yeah, that's fair.
And like Hunter, because then they just like, all right, dude, get out. Like, just good luck. Peyton is fine. I think he's clearly going to play the most minutes off the bench, but this also could profile as all 5 Boston starters, 30 plus minutes. Peyton 20 doesn't his minutes stay 24 to 28.
Yeah.
And we don't see like that 31, 33-minute bump that we would have seen earlier in the year when somebody was out. Because it's been few and far between those opportunities for Peyton Pritchard when like they've. So we'll see. I think he's fine. I think like Pritchard is definitely in play. I think Holiday's obviously in play. Wide range of outcomes for most of these guys. I don't love the spots. Lonzo still last for me in that group. Lonzo would be last for me in that grouping though.
Sure. MDC and Bogdanovich legacy game. I mean, if there was ever a time, throw
this guy in jail and throw away the key.
Casey, I do like Vit tonight. Yeah, we were cool with Vit. That was fine.
Yep.
You got Omax. Do we think OSP tonight?
OSP is UFC fighter OSP.
GSP.
No, OSP was
Owen St. Preux.
Owen St. Preux, right?
Yeah, OVP or whatever it was.
I would play him. I don't know if I'd play Maxence Prosper. Yeah. We're not prospering tonight. We're prospering. We're prospering, but we're not prospering.
All right, we got through Banchero here, obviously, who is an elite at the 40-minute mark. Last night you were very high on Randall. Like, do you now just axe Minnesota? If Atlanta's just going to play nobody, do you go back to Dillingham and maybe you get 20 plus out of Dillingham in a game theory? Do you play NEW in a game theory? Like,
Randall's in play, but Minnesota's obviously tougher to get to. I would like. Why would you play Dillingham when you could play like Keaton Wallace if all that happens anyway, sure. Right? You just play Keaton Wallace.
Yep.
I think PJ probably in this tier is like PJ Washington would probably be the guy for me.
Yeah, fantasy point per minute, back-to-back games.
I mean, he just doesn't come off the floor, dude. He just doesn't come off the floor.
Yeah, his point prop at 16.5. I felt like that was a pretty easy take.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great spot. You just need that game to stay close.
So someone that could keep that close is Kuzma, $6,400. You have Naz Reid at $5,700 here. Cavs starting lineup tonight: Garland, Mitchell, Strus, Mobley, Allen.
Yep.
Nothing different there. Jovic, Sar now. Obviously, Jovic is more appealing in that spot. What do you think as we hit below 6K?
I love Sar. You had touched on the pre-show, and I was looking into some numbers today. He's been really good. The usage rate's been really good lately. Last 4 games, it's been over 20%. 6 of the last 7 games, Alex Sarr's given you 29 plus fantasy points. And that's like direct correlation to the minutes going up, the usage rates going up. So I like Sarr 5,400. I think he's underpriced. And they're just kind of playing him regardless of outcome of game. The only time he lost time was to Sacramento. Every other game, no matter what the score has been, he has been extended. So I like Sarr quite a bit. 54, that would be the guy for me. I don't have a lot of other strong takes here. I like Aaron Gordon, 42, mostly because the minutes were back to where we are comfortable playing Aaron Gordon. 25 minutes last game, really good. I think the usage rate looked really good, just considering he's coming off the bench, so less Jokic that he's dealing with. I think Boucher is still in play. You could play Keyshawn, and then we'll see about like Gigi Jackson and stuff. Sure. And no, I'm not playing Haywood Highsmith even if there's a fire.
Center. Worst play on the slate, Nikola Jokic today, $12,000. Coming off just 39 fans. Only 3 rebounds against Minnesota. He's supposed to be owning Rudy Gobert.
Yeah, what a bum. What
happened?
Yeah, what a bum.
What happened to our guy?
Dude, they got cooked. Minnesota is the Denver Nuggets boogeyman.
Is it Serbian night? Is that what you said? Or that was the other night, right?
Last year. Last year, Jokic got thrown out in Chicago on Serbian national night. And
I'm going to see if they're running it back.
They are, and I looked this up today. It is the highest populated Illinois is the highest populated state in terms of Serbians in the United States. So, not a narrative guy, but I think that is something that's probably he's thought about. Why are you throwing me out on Serbian night He's probably thought about that for the full year.
I'm trying to see when the next Serbian Heritage Night is.
For the Bulls, are you on StubHub looking at what ticket prices right now for?
It is. It's tonight. They're doing it. They're running it back.
Oh, dude.
According to the internet, unless this is no, that's January 27th, 2025, Serbian Heritage Group outing, Bulls versus Nuggets. There, it's crazy. It costs $163
to go to the game.
Yeah. Well, if you're going with this group of Serbian Heritage, but they're having it tonight. Watch a Serbian performance on the Bulls court. 620.
Dude, they're the number. It's the number. Illinois has the highest Serbian population in the country. So salute. He's going for 100 fantasy points today. Might go for 100 actual.
They're having a thing before the game as well, and they're selling hats. Tonight's your night.
Nobody in chat, please. Everybody in chat, ignore MD and everything that he types.
What happened?
I said, everyone in chat, please ignore MD and everything that he types.
Oh. He needs 110 to pay off the price.
Just ignore him. Just ignore it. No, ignore him. Ignore him.
It's 65. All right. Anyways, Jokic is there. Where else are we going at center?
AD in tournaments, Sabonis in tournaments. I think you were kind of right with your assessment. Daniel Gafford would probably be the next guy I get to.
Dude, Gafford, I mean, he's played over 30 minutes 5 times this year. He's had double-digit rebounds in 4 of those 5. The only game he didn't was against Denver. 15 rebounds in 2 of the last 4 games. If this game is competitive, I just had like a minor heart attack. LeBron James will play. I thought that was like a injury management thing for LeBron there. AD and James are both in. Gafford 67 for me. Just I'm finding a way to get him in my lineup while playing Joker today. So
1.28 fantasy points per minute without Lively, Doncic, Kleba, and Marshall. It leads the team.
We're good. In DePrince, I don't know what Gafford's price is on FanDuel, but I would play Gafford over Sark today. So, Coach Chris, we were fine on D'Lo in tournaments.
He's 75.
75. Okay. I'd still play probably Gafford over Sark, even
Same. I would too.
I thought we were friends. We are friends.
We are, MD. I'm also just trolling you, sir.
All right, so Gafford's pretty elite. I mean, Okongwu might be the only player on Atlanta tonight.
Just how many Onyeka Okongwus would it take to beat Minnesota tonight?
Too many.
We're not getting that many. So
Goga's back. Khalil Ware. What are we doing? Anything below Gafford?
I think that this position is kind of a wasteland. On FanDuel, you could play Eubanks. I think my value play on.
There's no Jokic on FanDuel?
No, he's just saying he's 12-8 on FanDuel.
Oh,
I
thought he was saying like that the game was on the slate.
No, it's just so expensive. Like Noah Clowney's ownership has been there all day. He's going to play big minutes. I think the best value at center is just, we already talked about it. It's Alex Sarr.
Yeah. And to Bridges' point, we also say this a lot about Jokic. On FanDuel, he's a tougher play.
Yes.
Because he does no double-double, no triple-double stats, and he's, improving. He's not like an elite stocks guy.
Let me ask you this. Would you play Horford 4,100
on DraftKings,
center?
Yeah.
If he's starting, which I assume they don't ever start Peyton Pritchard. I assume they just go double big. That's usually their approach, right? Every time someone's been out, they just do double big.
I mean, Anthony, you can on FanDuel.
The Prince, yeah.
The Prince, sorry. You can on FanDuel. Again, he's a harder play on FanDuel.
Yeah.
If you just look at the fantasy point comparisons, DraftKings to FanDuel, he scores less. Over there.
Yeah, he's fine. He's definitely fine on FanDuel, but he's just obviously you don't get the bonuses over there.
Mm-hmm. Horford's okay. $4,100 is a good price, obviously, on him.
It's a good price.
And
if he's starting,
he'll play 30 minutes plus, most likely. So
yeah, if he's starting, I think it's pretty viable.
Okay. Anybody else?
No.
Okay. Where do we AD Biggs against Charlotte? Yeah, Anthony Davis a good pivot down from Joker today.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think 80 is great in tournaments, but I just
What do we think? We do connect here?
Yeah, let's just build a core here, John. 620. Connect, Jokic.
We can plug some things in here. Connect Jokic, Gafford, Poole, small forward. Where's Strus? It's 44. Power forward. I liked.
Did you play Sar?
Yeah, Sar. 57. Kind of want to get to Pritchard now, honestly. I think he's got good upside there. And 66 for a forward. Can round it out with Kuzma and just keep playing that game.
Yeah, I would probably not want to play 3 Washington, but you can if you want.
Giddy.
Yeah, just get to Giddy.
Giddy, Connect, Strus, Sar, Jokic, Pritchard, Kuzma, and Gafford. Example lineup for all of you guys there today. And Grande's got his playbook out. We got the core plays updated, all the latest news and all that for you guys. We'll have the ownership out just after 6:30. Get all that updated for you guys as well. We appreciate you all tuning in each and every day. We'll be back tomorrow, shorter slate, but we'll still have some fun. We'll talk to you then.